Hi, I'm Kenzie. Welcome back to my podcast. If you are just joining, welcome. Today we will be talking about my 26th Little Bear VHS, Sleepy Time Tales. Put on your pajamas and grab some popcorn because this is going to be good. This VHS includes Not Tired, Owl's Dilemma, Little Bear's Wish, and Good Night Little Bear. First, let's talk about Not Tired. This episode starts out with Little Bear yawning while putting together a track. Grandfather Bear and Grandmother Bear helped him. The last piece they needed was the gong. Then they tried it out. Little Bear got his red marble and placed it on the start of the track. It rolled along. They thought it was going to hit. The problem was it didn't. Little Bear didn't give up though. He tried to make it work by placing different things for the track to make it better. After 2 more tries, the marble still wouldn't hit the gong. Little Bear needed something to aim the marble higher. So Grandmother Bear and Grandfather Bear went into the kitchen to look for something. Little Bear was tired though. He thought he was not tired. He had to stay up and finish the project after all. While his grandparents went into the kitchen, Little Bear looked at the track and told himself repeatedly that he was not tired. Then he shut his eyes for a while, but he told himself he would not go to sleep. Then Mother Bear and Father Bear entered the scene. Father Bear looked at the fine piece of engineering, picked up Little Bear, and placed him on the couch. Mother Bear, Father Bear, Grandmother Bear, and Grandfather Bear talked for a while about what a good cub Little Bear was, and what they should have for dessert. They would have honey cake and raspberry ice cream, which happened to be Little Bear's favorite. He woke up. He was awake all along. The scene then transitions to Little Bear finishing the ice cream. His parents and grandparents talked about how his parents went to the city. Father Bear pulled out 2 brass candles. Little Bear liked it. He asked if he could borrow it for the marble track. Then the scene transitions to everyone watching Little Bear begin the marble experiment again. They thought it was going to hit for sure. It did! It worked! It actually worked! Everyone cheered. Little Bear wanted to do it again, but Father Bear told him it was time to go home. So he picked him up, and what do you know? Little Bear was not only tired, he was fast asleep. The scene transitions to Mother Bear and Father Bear saying goodbye and thank you to the grandparents, and they walked home. And that's how the episode ends. Now let's talk about the episode as a whole. I feel like this episode was a good one. I remember watching this when I was younger. Also, it made me appreciate marbles even more. That's why I love marble tracks so much. Although I must say I still don't know how the candle worked for the marble track. What do you think it did to the marble? Let me know if you want. All in all, it's a good episode. Little Bear is surprisingly an expert when it comes to marble tracks. Now let's talk about Owl's Dilemma. This episode starts out with 4 little birds chirping really loud. Owl was trying to sleep. He couldn't what with the new neighbors making loud chirping noises. Owl kept telling them to stop, but they just wouldn't. Then Little Bear and Duck entered the scene wondering what was wrong. Owl told them he hasn't gotten a wink of sleep because of the cute little birds. Duck flew up to the tree. He had never seen Owl so grumpy. Owl told her he wasn't grumpy. He was tired. Duck knew a place where he could take a nap, though. So the scene transitions to Little Bear and Duck checking on Owl in his new resting place, Duck's nest. It wasn't home, but it was at least quiet. Or so he thought. The frogs were croaking. Duck said that he sort of would get used to them, but Owl thought they were so noisy. Even the bugs were noisy. So the scene transitions to Owl going to Emily's house. He asked if there were any chirping birds or croaking frogs there. There weren't. So Emily invited him to sleep there. Granny wondered what was wrong. Owl explained his dilemma. Granny said that they were just about to settle for a nap as well. The thing was, Owl was in Tutu's spot, but she would gladly share with him. As Granny, Owl, and Tutu were settling down for an afternoon nap, Emily and Lucy went outside to play with Little Bear. The thing was, Granny was snoring, the rocking chair was creaking, and Tutu was making whimpering noises as well. Owl got up from his resting place, went outside, and said, "Help!" The scene then transitions to Owl in Little Bear's bed. While he tried to sleep, Little Bear helped Mother Bear set the table so they could have cupcakes. Father Bear joined them. They accidentally made a lot of noise, though, that they had to shush each other. Then Owl woke up. He smelled the cupcakes. The scene transitions to Little Bear, Mother Bear, Father Bear, and Owl having cupcakes. Owl asked for another cupcake. He didn't even finish the first one, but there was a reason for that. He placed each cupcake on each side of his head to use as earplugs. Then with that, Owl fell fast asleep. And that's how the episode ends. Now let's talk about the episode as a whole. I feel like this episode was also a good one. I remember seeing this when I was younger too. It's a classic after all. I mean, I get why Owl needs a quiet place to sleep. We all wish we had that. So do I. All in all, it's a good episode. I'm glad Owl can finally get some sleep at the end. Now let's talk about Little Bear's wish. This episode starts out with Little Bear looking at the stars. Mother Bear asked if he was ready for bed, but Little Bear said it wasn't dark yet because of all the stars. Mother Bear asked if he made a wish on the first star he saw. Little Bear forgot. He wished he was a bird, though, so he could fly to the stars. Father Bear helped him fly all the way into bed. Pretty fun, if you asked me. Then Father Bear kissed him good night, but Little Bear was not tired. Mother Bear asked if she could read a story to Little Bear, but he would rather make a wish. He wished he would float on a cloud so he could see the stars. The scene transitions to Little Bear's imagination. He could see everything. His house, Owl's house in the trees, and the pond where Frog lives. Then he bounced on the cloud, fell through, and landed on his bed. It turned out a cloud wasn't the best place to go to sleep after all. Then Little Bear wished he could sleep on the ocean like Father Bear. He would find a Viking boat and sail the 7 seas. The scene transitions to Little Bear's imagination again as he found a Viking boat. The Vikings invited him aboard their boat and made him their newest Viking bear. The scene transitions to Little Bear covered in a blanket and said that the Vikings covered him with an armor, which was pretty heavy. Then Little Bear had another wish. He wished he could meet a princess. Where would he meet her? He had to find out. The scene transitions to Little Bear crawling through a tunnel and finding a light. A panda was there to greet him. He said that the princess has been expecting him. She welcomed him to her garden and asked if he would like to have cake. Little Bear never used chopsticks before, though. Normally he just used his hands. Then a dragon ate his cake. Little Bear had to go then. As he was about to leave, he almost forgot to give the chopsticks back. The princess told him he could give them to Mother Bear as a present. Little Bear thanked her and crawled back home. He told Mother Bear that a dragon ate his cake at a faraway land called China. He was about to give her the chopsticks, but he couldn't find them. He must have dropped them on the way back. Then he had one last wish. He asked Mother Bear if she could tell him a story about him. Mother Bear could grant that wish. She combined all of his wishes into one story. It was a wonderful story. Then Mother Bear had a wish. She wished Little Bear would go to sleep. Her wish had come true. As the candle was blown and the door was closed, Little Bear's chopsticks for Mother Bear was shown on his bed after all. And that's how the episode ends. Now let's talk about the episode as a whole. I feel like this episode was also a classic. Did you know this was a part of the first book that Maurice Sendak wrote? It's true. Although there are some differences between the book and the episode, but that's okay. It's still pretty cool. We all want wishes to come true. All in all, it's a good episode. Now let's talk about Goodnight, Little Bear. This episode starts out with Little Bear and Mother Bear playing jacks. The ball accidentally bounced toward Father Bear's chair. Little Bear went to get it. Father Bear yawned. So did Mother Bear. The yawns were catching. Little Bear yawned too, but he said he was practicing his scary faces. They all made scary faces. Then Little Bear wanted to see who gets to tuck him in. He didn't know who to choose. So he let Mother Bear and Father Bear put one paw in while Little Bear did eeny, meeny, miny, moe. Mother Bear and Father Bear both win. They both get to tuck Little Bear in. Little Bear wanted a bedtime story read to him. So Father Bear went to get his reading glasses, but they were nowhere to be seen. Well, in reality, Little Bear had them holding behind his back. He yawned again. They played hot and cold until Mother Bear found them. Fisherman Bear was also found outside. Then Little Bear asked if they could stay outside a little longer because Fisherman Bear wanted to look at the moon. Little Bear could see the man on the moon. Then Little Bear yawned again. It was time for him to go to bed. But first they had to say their goodnights. There were a lot of things to say goodnight to. They said their goodnights to everything, including the moon and stars. Then Little Bear got in, Mother Bear and Father Bear kissed him goodnight, and Little Bear fell fast asleep. Even the man on the moon yawned. And that's how the episode ends. Now let's talk about the episode as a whole. I feel like this episode was a good one, although I can see how this could make some people feel sleepy. I also bet that this teaches children that there are all kinds of things to do at nighttime. All in all, it's a good episode. So yeah, that's Sleepy Time Tales. If you would like to play again, just go back to the beginning of this episode. See you next time. Bye!